Karen. Many people, when we sit down and talk about discoverability, say, why is it so hard? And I think it's been really exciting seeing some of the developments with the web-scale discovery services that we heard about this morning from Graham and Oliver. So I'm here today to talk about discoverability from a publisher perspective, and I'm going to go probably a bit broader than just sort of discovery from the library world. It's an increasingly significant part of the focus for us at Sage as we look at the delivery of our content online to our users and our new product development. We're looking at a really broad base of users and a large range of services and solutions that we offer, and those users want to access that from many different places. So how the challenge for us is how we optimize that across the board, and I'll tell you a bit about some of the things that we're doing, how we look at that, and some of the collaboration work we do with librarians and with service providers. What I wanted to start off with is a file that was sent to us by one of the students that we work with quite regularly as part of our sort of outreach, observational studies and the user testing we do. We do a lot of work with students to really dig into how they want to access our resources and some of the challenges they're having. And I thought this summed up quite nicely some of the challenges we all still have in front of us in terms of optimizing discovery for those users. So Ashley from King's College is a PhD student in cultural geography. He was reading this journal article, found this reference, copied it. Duncan went down to the bibliography at the end and found the research article he wanted to go and find he needs to read. So he copies that, the title of that, and he goes off to his library search at King's College, pastes that in, hit search, and can't find the article. So he goes, okay, right, what next? Try Google Scholar, paste it in, search. Okay, it's the top result, that's great. So I can now go through and find it. Okay, I'm blocked by a firewall, so I don't have access to this, so I want to check for access. And then we see him sort of going through a number of sort of authentication screens, and I think this is quite common, regardless of publisher. It certainly happens on the Sage side. And we see that process he's sped up for us because he's done that search already. And so I think the challenge before us is thinking, how do we get students and researchers away from spending all that time clicking around, hopping around sites, and focusing their time on delivering research and carrying that out and reading. Okay, we're going to leave him with still trying to find that article. There we go, he's reached it. I think this is what he looked like afterwards. So Oliver had a slightly different view of this, but this is our picture of the scholarly communication supply chain and that real challenge we have thinking about the scholarly knowledge and information that's contained in the content that we publish and how we get that into the eyes and minds of our researchers and students, and the different steps, the different players that we have to interact with on the way. And I think the spaghetti diagram Karen showed us earlier sums it up nicely. So before I go in and talk a bit about how we see this world and what we're doing about it, I thought it would be good to just, for those of you who aren't as familiar with Sage, to give you a bit of an introduction to our organisation. We were founded in 1965 by a young woman called Sarah Miller McCune, with her husband-to-be George, and for those of you who don't know, that's where our name comes from, Sarah and George, S-A-G-E. Sarah was in her early 20s when she created Sage and did so with a real passion for education and research and how that can create a better society, and that's really core and key to our values and our mission as a publisher. She's still the majority owner of the organisation and has an estate plan set up so that on her passing, the Sage will transfer into a charitable trust and will continue to remain as an independent organisation fulfilling that sort of key mission. We publish over 750 journals. We publish 800 books a year today, and a growing range of library resources and products, and some of those I've put up on this screen. So Sage Knowledge is our book and reference product. We have digital archives through Adam Matthews, conference reports through MD Conference Express. We have data products, case study products, so a wide range of publications across social science and STM disciplines, a wide range of different content types, different users, and a number of different sites that we need to make sure that our researchers and students can find. just click these up. So this is how we see and divide up the world of the channels of discovery and how we approach and tackle them. We have the open web search, which is an absolutely critical one, users accessing from our library customers and the library search tools and how we support those, academic and ANI search, and then also discovery within the Sage universe of products. So once someone's arrived on one of our sites, how do we continue to give and support them with new material? And before I dive into each of those, I think it's useful to think about sort of different patterns of use we see across those different channels. So open web searches from places like Google and Wikipedia make up by far the greatest proportion of usage to the majority of our sites. But they have also users come in and have a very high bounce rate. It's very typically, on average, a small number of page views per visit. And so you tend to see higher quality, if you call it that, usage coming in from library and academic search. This data's for our book and reference product Sage Knowledge, indicating sort of typical page views per visit and visit length for each of those different channels of discovery. So I'm going to go through each of these and tell you a bit about what we understand as the usage patterns from those and what we're doing to really optimize those. So first of all, the open web search. From all the research we do, we know that everyone uses this, from undergrad to postgrad to faculty and advanced researchers. It tends to be a really great starting off point, particularly at the beginning of projects, when you're doing a broad search and you want to find a big range of material. And on average, it makes up about 50% of all of our library product traffic usage. And but although that varies quite a bit between some of the products based on what they are. We have a lot of focus on looking at search engine optimization, which is SEO, and really thinking about how well we're doing, how we benchmark against other sites, and how we improve and support the discovery through those search engines where so many people are trying to access our content. We have independent audits done of our sites that lead to then development work that we look to carry out. There's a challenge because you get lots of changes to the search engine algorithms and you keep needing to sort of adapt to those. So we closely monitor that with dedicated staff looking at that and develop and implement a series of best practice around structured markup, URL structures and things like that, and a sort of real focus on, for new products, making sure that all gets set up from day one and then we can continue to tweak and evolve. We also use tools like Moz, which is a benchmarking tool to allow us to compare search engine usage and keyword discovery against other competitor sites. I thought it'd be nice to show you some data, so I've got quite a bit of it. This is the makeup of the traffic referrals, user referrals into our journal platform. So hopefully you can see it's various shades of blue, which isn't great, but over half of the traffic coming in is from open web, and then you can see some of those other entries, a good chunk for library and a good chunk of direct traffic coming in, users coming in direct from TOC alerts or just bookmarks on their browsers. We think our journal platform has a really sort of good search engine optimization, so often use this as a bit of a benchmark for some of our other products to think about how well they're doing. And I will show you an example of that and a bit of a case study of some challenges we were finding with one of our products with its open web search. So we have a digital publication called The Annals on our CQ Press library site. We were seeing about 30% of traffic coming in from open web and thought that really should be a lot greater, particularly as it's a sort of a resource really aimed at sort of undergrads and student users. So we worked with Google Scholar on a first click support project where we opened up we opened up and made freely available the first report someone would land on. And by doing that, it opened up the full text to be indexed by Google Scholar, so we were creating more full text content that could be indexed. And the result of that was fantastic. So a year on, for the same January to July period, 75% usage coming in now from open web search, and that blue box of the library search, the net number didn't go down, it was just that was an overall increase in usage we were seeing quite dramatically from that experiment. So it's an example of sort of one of the things that one of many things we do to really keep trying to drive on making our content more accessible and discoverable in that open web space. So the next area that I wanted to talk through was some of the things that we're doing in the library search world. We've heard quite a bit about the discovery services this morning. I guess I'm going to be talking about all traffic coming in from customer institutions, although these are some of the sort of key resources we see students and researchers looking into and as they get directed into our content. We have dedicated staff, as Karen was saying, she has at IEEE, really focused on supporting feeds, metadata feeds, looking at and working on standards. We have members on various NISO working groups, including the Open Discoverability Initiative, working on the KBART compliance and the second version of that coming up, and PyJ. So a huge amount goes into this, hugely complex to get all the metadata right, the subscription feeds right, but absolutely critical to make sure that as we're sending out feeds in a timely way, people are able to then access and come in from all the different places. We also do a lot of work, I mentioned the standards bodies, but collaborating on research projects and outreach to both with libraries and some of the discovery vendors. We developed now a sort of checklist that goes out to every new customer. Don't forget to set up the product right. Through experience with some of our new products, it can take some time to make sure all the MARC records are uploaded and the content's been added to catalogues, and so we have sort of checklists to make that happen. But we also have alerts where if we're seeing a drop-off in usage or usage coming in from library services is lower than expected, we get a trigger and reach out to libraries and talk through, is everything set up properly, is there more we can do to support you? There's been a few things, as Karen mentioned too, actually, where libraries have implemented discovery services like EDS or Summon, and where we've seen a drop-off, and because of that customization that you can do as a library, which is fantastic to set it up, set those systems up, it can be quite difficult knowing whether the issue is on our side with what we're delivering or with some way that it's been set up. And so in those instances, it's sort of critical, and we to sit down then with the library and with the discovery vendor to sort it out and dig in. So a lot of effort, but for a really important gain to go into that and support those fantastic resources. So a couple of examples of some things in this space that we've dug into. So we launched a product called Sage Research Methods a few years ago now. So it's a destination site for anyone looking for information, for research methods information, from to qualitative methods to research design, and it's a tool. It contains a significant amount of book and reference material, but also a lot of other content, and as well as digital tools to allow people to answer their research questions. And when we first launched, we found that the sort of blue line there is the discovery from referrals from library services was looking really low and absolutely not what we should be looking at. As we dug into it, there were sort of a couple of key things we needed to turn around. One was because it was a tool and it wasn't just a single content database. Libraries were struggling with how to set it up and categorize that product in their systems. And do we upload the MARC records for this, or it's not really an ebook platform, so maybe we shouldn't. And so a lot of work, we had to do quite a bit of work to dig into exactly how that should be set up and how we could support them to do that. The other thing was that the book and reference content that was in there was all originally print material, and it was the first time we were digitizing a lot of it. So we actually, the metadata we had and the systems that stored that within Sage didn't include all the fields we needed to make sure it was optimized for what the library systems needed. And so a lot of work had to go in to actually sort of fill that out, create that metadata, make those systems changes. And it was a big learning curve for us that now we didn't spend enough time focusing on discovery pre-launch with that product, and now it's an absolutely significant channel of work that goes on before any product launch. This is an example of, this is some early research results from another study that we've been participating in with some researchers from the SCELT consortia. So that's a California library consortia. And they've been doing some research to look at the impact of the implementation of some of the web-scale discovery services that are available in the market. And this is all Sage Journals data of referrals from those libraries into our journals. So we gave them our data, and they're benchmarking across a number of different publishers. So you've got your control group on the left who didn't implement one of these services, and then your EDS, Primo, Summon, and WCL. So each of the bars is a different library. And you can see that pretty much, the trend across the board is that there's quite a significant jump up in usage from once these services have been implemented, which is really great to see as users are able to get into the content more easily. There's some bars going down, and those would be the ones that we give a call to and say, okay, what's going on? Something's not quite looking right there. How can we make sure that we're setting this up properly together? So I talked about open web search and the library search. The other sort of key other area is academic and ANI search. Searches from more specialist tools. Typically, these databases are databases that are used by power users doing sort of deep research. We need to make sure we're giving them the right files, the right metadata, the right feeds all the time, and have sort of ongoing, constant relationships with them. We're starting to see some more activity from some of the new workflow tools like Mendeley and Recube. Overall, this area tends to be a very slim chunk of referrals into our products still, but we're seeing some growth in the sort of Mendeley Recube space, which is interesting. And similarly, sort of, I won't go through all of these, but doing a good deal of work, particularly with Google Scholar, who we put in this category, to really continue to keep those relationships strong and work on how we continue to improve and develop discovery from these fields. So the fourth area I mentioned was the sort of, once users are within one of our sites, how do we make sure we continue to give them useful information? And as we've been launching new products and new sites, that's become a challenge to work out how we optimally link across. So there's a couple of things we've been working on to really improve that. One is we've been working with some software provided by Themis where we text mine our content. We've developed a thesaurus for the social sciences for use within that, and use their similarity index then to create similarities between different types of content, whether that's a journal article and a video through the video transcript, or a book chapter, so that we can create related links across all of our sites. And on the Sage Journal site, you see the red bar on the front. That's a link we're going to be rolling out soon that will display those sort of links to more information and relevant related content that can go out. We're also using that thesaurus I mentioned that we've developed in-house to drive some improved faceted search functionality, some of the stuff that Oliver was talking about with the search filters to help our users drill into long lists of search results. We'll be rolling out across products. And in one of the products, this research methods product, where we've got quite a specialist user group accessing that, we're looking at experimenting with some more editorially driven search results, so that when users are searching for a term in our taxonomy and our ontology, the editor will have actually sort of pre-vetted, looking at usage data as well as their editorial expertise to drive up some of the more relevant, or the content we think is going to be more relevant for those users, and to create sort of snippets on the top that you can see on the right-hand side of basic information for them. So I wanted to do a little plug for a white paper. This is one of the examples of areas of collaboration that we have staff focused on. My colleague Letty Conrad worked on this with Dr. Mary Somerville, really looking at what's the state of the world of discovery today and how do we collaborate, what are the key areas we need to focus on for more work. So I want to plug that, have a look at that, and Karen's put a nice URL in at the end. And then finally, some things that we're aware we need to focus on that I think are key areas for all of us as we look to improve and drive, improve discovery and help our users get to the information they need to access quickly to be able to do the research that they want to do. So key for us is metadata there's more we could do to improve the quality and the richness of that metadata, as well as a real focus on compliance with some of the standards out there. I think it's really important to advocate the standards that are out there to support and optimize discovery, and as well as adopting them, of course. Transparency and really looking at cross-sector cooperation is key with panels like this, with research papers and projects that we can undertake to better understand how user behaviour and how users are wanting to access and discover our content, and how well we're responding to that. And then also partnerships and co-development. So I think a key area for us is as we are developing new types of online product, looking beyond journals and books, it can be quite challenging to know what metadata and how to categorize some of those different types of content. And I'm really keen that we all collaborate more strongly to think about how should case studies optimally be indexed and discovered and ranked in terms of relevance in discovery systems. How should conference papers display, or newspapers, as Oliver was mentioning earlier on. So I've got my red light, although I didn't get a quack. I thought I'd leave, as this isn't a sunset, it's definitely a sunrise. As we've seen, I think, huge leaps and strides in this area over the last few years, but still I think a lot more for us to do to make Ashley happy and help him focus on the research he wants to do, rather than the challenge of discovering the papers he needs to read. Thanks.